everybody, and welcome to my channel. Today is the day. It is the day. It is time to begin the June The Lazy Book Club book pick. I am so excited. It's going to be so great. I am so excited that this book won. So I'm just like, you guys did me a favor by picking this one. If you don't know what this is a monthly book club that I run, and it is called The Lazy Book Club because it is like the laziest way to read and do a book club format. I did not want to do live shows yet. That's just not something I want to do as of the current moment. My schedule is so funky. I cannot prepare super in advance because I work at the hospital and we are switching around our like weekends and all that kind of stuff right now. So it is just very complicated. Can't do lives. So instead, what we do is I give you guys options for the book of the month, and normally way in advance I have our book picked through August, or you guys have our book picked through August. And towards the end of the month, I read the book and I do a full spoiler couple chapter by chapter breakdown of my feelings and thoughts as we go, my ideas as we go along, etc. And I highly suggest that you guys take notes as you're reading and make predictions as you're reading, so that when we discuss it at the end, you can leave comments down below when you thought stuff was going to happen, if you thought something was going to happen and it didn't happen, etc. Just kind of stuff like that. It's really, really fun to get your predictions out there and kind of guess what's going on. I have a really fun time doing these because it is just like free-flowing thoughts going. So this month, the book club picked One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake. I am so excited about this because I've only ever read one other Olivia Blake and it's not fantasy. So I am just really excited to actually read a fantasy. And I haven't read The Atlas Six, haven't done any of that. I've only read Alone with You in the Ether, which is a 5-star for me. So I'm so excited to read this and see what I kind of think about it. So in this one, it is like a Romeo and Juliet reimagining kind of thing where we're following two rivaling families, but they're witches and like crime bosses. And I think that, yeah, the one family has like a bunch of daughters and it has a matriarch, and then the other family has a couple of sons and there's a patriarch, and it's just like, it just sounds really good. And obviously there's going to be romance, there's going to be crazy things. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of bloodshed in this book. So if you want to watch the rest of this, I would highly recommend reading the book first and then coming back and watching this, because it's going to be completely spoiler filled. This isn't something for someone who wants to read the book later, really. So, but if you're here, you finished the book, or you didn't finish it and want to see what happens, or you just want to see what happens and you don't want to read the book, then continue on, because this is where the spoiler section begins. Okay, how I think I'm going to update this is I'm going to do it after every stage. So I just finished the first stage. I really don't have that much to like talk about yet because there is just a lot going on and I need to kind of figure out the story. But it's definitely Romeo and Juliet vibes, as we knew it would be. I like how it's like stages and like mini chapters. I think that's really cool. I feel like this book is going to have mass bloodshed. I am very concerned that this is going to just be like hella bloody and everybody is gonna die, and I'm very concerned for our main characters already. But oh my god, I loved the star-crossed scene where Lev and Sasha had the kiss. Normally I'm not for like insta love, but because it's Romeo and Juliet, you kind of like need it in the story. Like it's supposed to be like this moment of like, oh my gosh, like you are the one, can't live without you kind of thing. And this has made it like, you know, not creepy that it was in Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, I'm really loving it. I'm switching between reading it physically, and I also got the audiobook because I am short on time reading this book. And because I've been dealing with a lot of sinus issues, it's hard for me to physically read a lot at one time. So I've been listening to audiobooks lately. So I did pick up the audiobook, and I like the narrator. So that's, thank goodness. Thank goodness. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. I love the vibes. It's giving me our Violent Delight vibes. It's giving me just like everything. And of course, Olivia Blake's writing. This is my second Olivia Blake. I read Alone with You in the Ether, gave it 5 stars. Probably my favorite book so far this year. And again, the writing style in this is just so good. The way she writes is just I can't. Like, there's something so magical and beautiful in her writing that I'm just like absolutely loving it. So I'm gonna go back to listening to it. I feel like this book is gonna go by very quickly for me because I am obsessed. Oh, here's a very quick prediction. I feel like Maria's husband Stas is definitely gonna die. Like, definitely 100% gonna die, and probably maybe a couple of the sisters, because there's a lot of sisters, and potentially Lev's brother Roma. I don't know, but I feel like 100% Stas is going to have a very depressing, upsetting death that's going to set the family off, etc. So that's kind of like my predictions right now. I'm really stressed about it. This book is really stressing me out. I'm expecting to cry a lot in this book, but I'm also loving it at the same time. So I'm really, really interested to see what they're going to do with this, because this is definitely a very interesting, different take on Romeo and Juliet. I can't really see it, which I'm surprised about, but I just sobbed at the end of Act 2. What? Like, actually what? I had like a couple of notes in here, hold on. The opening to Act 2 was literally devastating with Masha and Dima's story. And I have to say, like, I feel like especially after most of Act 2, and yeah, I guess after Act 2, I don't feel that much of a connection between Lev and Sasha. My like whole world revolves around Dima and Masha, which is like absolutely devastating now that she's apparently dead. Although I don't know if I 100% know if she's dead, because he took her heart, and I feel like Baba Yaga is going to bring her body back, but she's gonna come back cold and like want retribution, and then Dima is gonna have to like give her heart back or something like that. That's kind of like my hope, because I cannot accept the fact that the real romance, in my opinion right now, is Masha and Dima. Like, the amount of chemistry that those two characters have in 100 pages is amazing. Like, I feel like I'm never... that's what I'm having a problem with Lev and Sasha, is it does feel very insta-lovey, and at first I kind of like that, but it's just not working for me in that case. But for somehow she managed to put all this emotion and all this feeling into the Dima and Masha relationship that I didn't think I would feel, because normally I don't like when it's like a tell you kind of thing where like we know that they were in a relationship before. But something in the way that the writing of those two characters is 100% making me believe their relationship, that they are so in love with each other, especially their actions that they have. And I'm just like, yeah, so I'm kind of absolutely devastated that Masha is apparently dead. I don't believe it, which is why I'm not like crying in my closet with the lights off. Because if I really truly believed it, I would be devastated and I wouldn't want to pick the book back up. So I'm kind of just like, I'm stressed. And I also know that this is going to cause like major problems. Lev and Sasha are going to start having problems, because obviously someone killed Masha, so Sasha's gonna be devastated. So I'm just not looking forward to that part, and I'm sure Act 3, I feel like, is gonna be entirely Sasha being depressed and dealing with that, and dealing with her relationship with Lev and what she needs to do. So I'm just like, I'm so stressed. I'm so stressed. But that's pretty much, I think, all the... Oh, the other thing I'm not loving... Normally I love texts in books, but I'm really not liking the texts in this. I don't like how they're done, and I think it's just because Olivia Blake's writing is so beautiful that when there's like text messages, it feels like it almost ruins the vibe that's going on. So I'm liking the sections without the text messages significantly more. So I'm hoping that we get less text, because Act 2 had a lot of text messages, like a lot of text messages, and that's why it went by so quickly, because it's really not that much later that I'm updating from the first update. But yeah, I hope there's significantly less text messages, and they're barely used. They're just used as like a filler almost, but there needs to be less fics. I'm not enjoying the text message part of the book, which is sad, because again, like I said, normally I enjoy that. But yeah, that's my update. Finished Act 2. I am emotional. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about this book right now. I feel like it's definitely, this book is going to be one of those books that the ending is going to make or break the book, and I'm really nervous about what's going to happen with that. So I'm going to continue reading because I am definitely in this book, and I do have the audiobook. I don't know if I said that. I have the audiobook. Oh yeah, I definitely did say that. So I'm listening to some parts, reading some others, just kind of going back and forth. So yeah, I'm going to continue reading and hopefully not completely fall apart as I read this book. Okay, I finished Act 3 and I don't know where this is going. I figured that Mario wasn't dead. It's just, it's too early, and there's something about, I feel like it's because I read Alone with You in the Ether, and it was such an uplifting, like, everything kind of worked out kind of story, when that story definitely seemed like everything was going to be bad. So there's just like a part of me that just like couldn't believe that she was really dead, and it's the same part of me that doesn't believe Lev's dead either. I don't think he's actually dead. I feel like because the women can bring people back, they're gonna bring him back too and use him as like leverage against the Fedorovs. I don't know though. I don't know where it's going. So, and I'm also curious what like Dimitri knows, because Dima has her heart and it started beating at the end, and he smiles and like knows something, and I'm like, what does he know that I missed? Because I don't see the significance of him having her beating heart and her telling him to keep it. It seems like Masha like had set this all up. It seems like Masha had a plan in place for when she would inevitably die, and she basically had everyone ready to go to bring her back, and knew that Dimitri would take her heart and keep it safe. So I'm like, what's the plan? Like, what's the plan here? I feel like Lev dying was not expected. I don't think that was part of the plan, but I also just, I don't think he's dead. And even if he is, there's not an emotional impact that I'm having there. I'm really loving the story, especially Masha and Dima, and the family connection, and the writing is beautiful, but I feel no connection, or very little connection, between Sasha and Lev, especially for him to have died so early. It's just, it's not there. And that also makes me think that he's not actually dead, because it feels too soon, the same way it did with Masha. So I feel like he's got to come back too, but I don't know. I don't know. I also love that they showed exactly how Baba Yaga brought everyone back, but it also has me a little nervous for Galina, the second youngest, that they're going to sacrifice her to bring Masha back, because there obviously has to be a sacrifice. But I can't see Baba Yaga giving up any of her daughters. I just don't see that. I feel like maybe Baba Yaga made a deal with whoever is on the other side to bring the daughter out, and Baba Yaga will probably die at the end. I don't know. But I do think Stas is really dead. Again, no emotional connection there, because he just kind of exists. Knew there'd be a lot of bloodshed, but it's like 50% in. I wasn't expecting this much bloodshed. I think I'm just over the 50% mark. I'm about to start Act 4. So I have no idea where this is going. This is obviously a very, 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 very loose interpretation of Romeo and Juliet. It basically just takes the star-crossed lovers aspect of Romeo and Juliet and uses some quotes from Romeo and Juliet and the warring families, and that's pretty much it. There's nothing else so far, because we already have one character, Masha, being brought back to life, which it is possible she's not really back to life. They haven't fully explained how she's back, but it does seem like they brought her back and she's alive, but she doesn't have a heart. So I'm like, how is that going to impact her personality and impact her as a person? And obviously they're bringing, like, Sasha was already brought back. Sasha was killed and then brought back, which, I mean, those were the terms of the deal. She did die. Sasha did die, and Lev is dead. So technically, yeah, that's past. So that's why I'm curious what's going to happen with Lev. I just don't really believe that he's dead. There was too much that went into his character at the beginning, and his funniness and his relationships, to like get rid of him. If Roman had died, I would think that Roman was dead. If Roman had died, I would have been like, okay, he's actually dead. If Dima or Lev had died, I wouldn't have believed it. Especially, I wouldn't have thought Dima was actually dead. But it's interesting, because then we would have two characters brought back to life. But I guess that's kind of a Romeo and Juliet thing, where Juliet faked her death and Romeo faked his death and then actually died. So I don't know. So these characters may, like, Masha may end up dead at the end as a bargain for, like, the sister or something. I don't know. Because they're bringing, oh yeah, because they would have had to bring back both daughters. So they figured out how to bring Masha back, and then they killed Sasha and then brought Sasha back. So that's 2 deals, 2 sacrifices. I don't know how this is working, because they said very clearly there has to be a sacrifice. Okay, I'm rambling at this point because I really don't know where this is going. I'm loving the writing. I'm liking the story. It's not having a big emotional impact that I feel like it should be having, because I feel like the emotional impactness is just, it's not there because I just don't know the characters enough. I feel like big things happened too soon, and Lev and Sasha are just not a super believable couple because it was insta love, and I don't love that. And I get it's supposed to be Romeo and Juliet, but I said I liked it, but the more I read it, the less I enjoyed that Lev and Sasha were insta love. So I didn't love that. Again, more emotional impact with Masha and Dima. Still enjoying them as characters. Still devastated anytime Dima talks about Masha. But now she's back. And Dima knows that she's back, it seems like. So, yeah, I don't know where this is going. So I've just reached the end of Act 4, I think. I don't have the book downstairs with me. But I think I'm starting Act 5. Yeah, because Act 5 is the last act. And then the epilogue after that. I feel like Act 4 is the point in which the book that my opinion has changed a bit. I am just bored. I'm bored. Act 4 is a lot of rinse and repeat of other stuff that has already happened. It's just constantly stupid decisions going behind people's backs and doing the same thing that other characters are doing, especially Masha and Sasha, are just so annoying now. I really liked their characters at first, but now they're just being stupid and not talking to each other about what's going on. And I'm just not enjoying it. I'm not enjoying the fact that there's just so much miscommunication and secrets, etc. And it just seems pointless. It seems absolutely pointless. I hate that we are consistently going back to the bridge and making random deals and just talking to this guy. It feels just repetitive and not necessary anymore. I feel like all of Act 4 could have been cut out. Even the section where Masha and Dima finally like get their relationship kind of back together a little bit just felt emotionless. And because she still doesn't like have her heart, that she was still very detached from the situation. So I didn't actually feel anything. It wasn't the reunion that I wanted. I wanted this explosive firework kind of reunion between the two of them, and it was not like that. And then I kind of want to talk about Stas's death a little more. Like, I feel like Masha should have some type of feelings about Stas's death, but it's kind of just like a thing that happened and we're not talking about it. And it's like it doesn't exist. And then, of course, we brought Lev back, which, no surprise. I feel like there's just no stakes in this book. So I don't feel any type of stress or any type of connection to these characters. And I feel like that is a big difference between this book and Alone with You in the Ether. Alone with You in the Ether, I felt so stressed for a lot of the book because I loved the characters so much. I loved the relationship that formed between them. And in this book, I don't care. I don't care about the relationships at all. Like, at this point, I feel like everyone could die and I just would not care. And I feel like that's a problem. So I'm not super happy about that. And I hope Act 5 kind of goes out with a bang. I feel like this close to the ending, there should be more going on. There should be more stress. There should be more just feelings. And I feel nothing. So I'm just like annoyed. They look very similar to the way that I did at the beginning of the video, because the beginning of the video I filmed right before filming this. But I'm finished. I finished One for My Enemy, and I finished it last night. It is the next morning. It is Thursday morning. This took me, when did I start reading this? It is currently the 6th of July, and I started reading it June 30th. It took me a lot longer than I thought it would, but I also worked the weekend, which is normally when I do a lot of my readings. So that kind of took away 2 solid days of reading. So I probably would have finished this 2 days ago if not for that, but I finished it, and I needed to take all last night to kind of think about what my rating was gonna be, because after part 4, or act 4, and after the beginning of act 5, I was like, this is a 3 at most. Which is so disappointing because I really liked the beginning of the book, and then act 4 and the beginning of act 5 were just like so hard to get through. They were so hard to get through. I was so disappointed in them and how the book just completely went to like repetitiveness, and just I was not a fan. I was not a fan at that point. But then the end, I was like, oh my gosh, okay. I really liked the ending. I think what I've landed at is a 4. I'm gonna give it a 4. It's like a soft 4. I think 4 doesn't feel right because I think I gave The Last Tale of Flower Bride a 4, and I definitely liked that way more than I liked this. 3.75. Let's do a 3.75. The one for my enemy is 3.75. That feels right because it's better than a 3.5, but I don't think it's a 4 because of that huge lag in the middle of it. So anyway, let's first talk about Act 5, and then we'll go more into general thoughts and questions and feelings, etc. Act 5, I could not tell you what happened at the beginning of Act 5 because it was just, again, more repetitiveness, more making Roma feel crazy, and then we finally figured out what Masha's plan was and how she kind of left Dima in the lurch, and she basically was just a ball of vengeance, and she wanted to become the fall guy for the situation and take out Koshi, take out that whole other side of the family, but leave Dimitri kind of protected. So that was brutal, just seeing her be this like ball of pain. It was really sad, and I like how it ended. The best way that I can describe this book now that I've read it, it feels like Romeo and Juliet if Romeo and Juliet survived and were decided to side with their families and went on living and being part of their families, etc. Obviously in current day with different roles in the families, and they have siblings. So if you basically take Romeo and Juliet, cut off their relationship, have them pine for each other for 20 years. That's where we are, and you're dealing with the ramifications of keeping them separated and being so focused on the family drama that it's just escalated and escalated and escalated, and it ends up with this kind of book, and the younger generations of the siblings kind of falling into the same mess that the older generation of the siblings fall into. I was so emotional at the end of this because I feel like it was I love the reimagining of it. I think it worked so well with the Romeo and Juliet character, because Romeo and Juliet to me are Masha and Dima. They are Romeo and Juliet. They are the tragic story separated, and then at the very end they die together, and oh my gosh, that was so sad. I feel like it couldn't have ended any other way though. Like it wouldn't have gotten across an emotional impact because you just kept bringing people back to life. It lost emotional impact. So them dying at the end brought back that emotional impact. And then in the epilogue, when you saw them kind of in that like dreamy state, I was like, and I started sobbing seeing them finally like happy together. I was just like, oh my gosh, that broke me. That absolutely broke me. Because you never really got a moment in this except when Masha brings Dima back, that like 10-second interval of them hugging and talking to each other is really the only time you see them truly happy, because after that point, Masha doesn't have her heart back. So even through all the relationship parts that Dima and Masha have together, she's not completely whole throughout that. There's always some sort of disconnect until you see them at the end just together in that dreamy otherworld state. And that was heartbreaking. That was heartbreaking. And then I loved the message that Lev got from the whole thing. I feel like Sasha's character became very one-dimensional. She was just all about anger, etc. And her whole life revolved around losing Lev. But Lev really learned things. I feel like he really understood what was going on. And I loved that he was searching and searching and searching and searching for something Dima left behind to say to him. but then realized the best thing that Dima left him, and then realizing that the best message that Dima left him was the being allowed to be with Sasha and be in a relationship. And I was just like, oh my god. It's just so emotional. So emotional. It's just crazy. It was crazy how much I didn't think this was going to leave an emotional impact, and then hit me over the head with emotions at the end of the book. So I was really impressed that I feel like it was secretly worming its way in my heart the whole book, while I was like, it doesn't really have an emotional impact. It's not really having, and then at the end it was like, wham, emotional impact. I still don't think that emotional impact at the end makes up for feeling disconnected the rest of the book. I still feel like the Levin-Sasha relationship was weak, and there could have been more. I don't even know how you would fix that. I wanted to feel more throughout the book instead of relying on the end of the book to really give me those super emotional reactionary feelings. That's kind of all that I have to say about the end. I do have a couple of questions, but otherwise I feel like it was a pretty straightforward book. So a couple of things that I would like to discuss though. The first one is talking about Roma. Roma was such a weird character because I found it funny that Sasha was driving him crazy, but I also am like super confused by what like happened to his character. I feel like his character, for having been such a focal point in the middle of the book, I feel like we didn't get any type of closure or anything with his character. It was very strange. Like, I feel like we should have gotten something more with Roma other than being told he was working at something and working with the bridge. And that's pretty much it. And that his power was coming back, which I feel like, again, wasn't super explained a lot of that. I found that very strange. So I kind of wanted more to be done with the Roma's character at the very end, but I don't know at the same time, like, I don't know what else you would say about him. So I am curious what you guys think about the Roma character and kind of how she left off about that character. I also obviously want to know what you guys think about the Dima Masha death, if you think that was like the only way. I do kind of think it odd that they didn't even try to bring Masha back. I know Dima said that there was just too much pain and he didn't want to put her through that and have her relive all the remorse, etc., for what she's done. But I feel like it was, part of me feel like it was a very sad death because Masha didn't really get a choice really to decide to like come back and really say goodbye to her siblings, because she treated Sasha like crap at the end. So I feel like that was not a great way to like send off Masha and Sasha's relationship. So I kind of wish she had come back for a second just to like put it to rest, because Masha was such an important part of Sasha's life. And then I'm curious what you guys think about the bridge as a character. I feel like I got so annoyed by this character. I feel like he was like the almost cop-out for the plot. Like, anytime they needed to meet or create an easy scene, they would use, like, she would use the bridge as a way to get everyone together. And I don't know if I liked that, because it became so repetitive. Like, we were almost more in the bridge's office than anywhere else. There were so many scenes in the bridge's office compared to everybody else. So I am interested to see what people think about the bridge and if that was just necessary like that much. I'm curious what you guys think about that character. I also thought it was going to devolve into a romance between the bridge and Roma, which I I was really hoping actually by the end. Did anyone else get those vibes? Like, I got a vibe at the end that Roma and the bridge may become something, but then that fizzled out. That didn't really become anything. I thought that's what it was going to be. I was really curious about that. I feel like that's all that I have questions about. Everything else seems pretty straightforward. Like, the ending moves so quickly, I feel like there's just a little bit of confusion what happened exactly at the end, but I still feel like I mostly get it enough that I don't have that many questions. But it was interesting. It was an interesting book. 3.75. I still had a really fun time reading it, especially the beginning. Like, the first half I really loved. I just wish the back half had been a little snappier, a little quicker, and maybe bringing less people back. I feel like it just lost its meaning when you bring so many people back. So that's kind of how I feel about this. Make sure you leave a comment down below about your thoughts, what you thought while reading it, what you guessed was going to happen, all the good stuff. Let me know what you thought was going to happen, and of course what you rated it. I would love to hear what you guys rate it. And remember, next month, or this month I guess, July's book is the Riley Sager, The Only One Left. Is that what it's called? I have it sitting over there. It finally came yesterday. So The Only One Left by Riley Sager. That is our book for July. Make sure you pick that up, read it. I'm really hoping it's good. I've heard some amazing things about it so far, so I'm really, really excited. So yeah, we're gonna be reading that next month, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of the Lazy Book Club and other content, etc. Make sure you leave that comment down below, and make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.